live. I am live, everyone. Okay, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, everyone. This is the Panda Photographer once again from 646studios.com, and today I have some raw files that I want to show you from the Canon 60 Mark II. Now, if you're a landscape photographer, long exposure, night photography, or doing astrophotography, you might want to tune into this. But other than that, today I have some of these files that are raw, so you guys can clearly see that Canon 60 Mark II using the 85mm. I download these files from DP. So keep in mind, I am going to show you some disappointing factors about the base ISO with this camera. So if I was to want to recover some shadows and some highlights, well, it's going to be very disappointing. So keep in mind that, as you can see here in the first photo shot at ISO 100 at 85mm at 5.6 at 140 of a second. Now I am going to increase the exposure value by 3 stops. Alright, before we even do anything to the highlights or to the shadows, you can clearly see in the image there is some noise that should not be there at base ISOs. I never had to deal with this issue with any of the Canon cameras by far. This is probably the first testing I did from Canon cameras that exhibit noise at base ISO 100, and this is due to the poor dynamic range on this camera at base ISOs. Now, even if I was to show you at shadows, it gets worse. As you can see, we can focus here as well, and you can look at the colored rendition chart. You can clearly see at the color chart that you can see there is some noise coming in, and that noise is from the poor dynamic range. Now, keep in mind that this was shot on the Canon 60 Mark II. Now, if I was to take the second image, if I wanted to, and shot it at, let's see here, go to the second image. Zoom out here, come on. Zoom out for a second. Now, this was shot at ISO 100. Still the same settings, but different shutter speeds at 1/8000 of a second. Now, if I was to increase that to, let's say, 4 stops, and we zoom in on her face, you can clearly see that there is a lot of noise coming into the image. The dynamic range at ISO 100 should be better with the new Digi 7 processor on this Canon 60 Mark II, but it's not. So, with that said, let's go to the color chart. I want you guys to pay attention to the color edition chart. You can clearly see more noise in the chart from before, because at base ISOs, dynamic range should be better at lower base ISOs, but it is not. For some apparent reason, this is not the situation. This is the situation here with the Canon 60 Mark II. Now, with the third image shot at ISO 200, okay, we are going to increase it by 5 stops, and you can clearly see that there is terrible noise at ISO 200. Now, as a astrophotographer, landscape, long exposure, time-lapse photographer, or night photographer, this is going to be very, very bad to recover details and highlights and shadows when you actually want to do long exposures. In some cases, we don't know about portraits, but you can clearly see that there is some super noise coming in at ISO 200. I should be able to recover in dynamic range at ISO 200, and you can clearly see from where I started off. This is underexposed. I should have recovered in this case, but wasn't able to do that. So in the next image, ISO 400, I'm going to do 4 stops. A little better, but still lots of noise. Dynamic range is not good. Now, if we go back to the first image for a moment here, let's go back, which I shot at ISO 100, the base ISO. Now, let's do this. Let's do 1 stop, and let's some shadows and some highlights. Okay. Even if you can barely tell from this image, and I can tell from this image, I see noise. Look at this right here. You can definitely see some noise here. Even at 1 stop of exposure, I can still see some noise with shadows and highlights. You can still see noise. This is not good at all. But short. So we lives. Alright. So this here is ISO 6400. Okay. This is perfectly exposed. Okay. You can clearly see that in higher ISOs, dynamic range does much better at higher ISOs after it surpasses ISO 800. Now with the DG7 processor on the image, I don't know what it's actually compressing. I'm not sure what's it doing. I'm not sure if it's confused, but I would believe that it should have done much better at lower ISOs, but instead it did worse at lower ISOs. But as it got higher at higher ISOs, it did much better in the dynamic range department. So you guys determine what you just saw here is a real world test. But let's do one more image. So this was shot at ISO 800. Now let's try to do 3 stops. This still some dynamic range issues here when it comes up to exposing the photo for exposing at 3 stops at ISO 800 instead of at 0.0, and yes, do shadow recovery. Let's do the highlights here. Then do 2 stops. Even at ISO 800, you can clearly see that it doesn't do well in recovery. And we can go to the color chart. You can clearly see where it just falls short at lower ISOs at 800. Once it surpasses 800, it does so much better at 3200, at 6400, as you clearly have seen it at 6400, that it did much better. So that is my take on this Canon 16 Mark II's raw files. These are raw files, ladies and gentlemen. Not shit, you're not. As the Panda photographer, I'm obligated to show you this, and you guys, you can do testing for yourself. Download these files, make sure that you have the correct software to convert these files to your computer. If you're not a Canon shooter, make sure that you have the converter to actually convert these files, so you can put them in Lightroom and test it for yourself. Now, keep in mind, I'm an enthusiast photographer that's been shooting for a long time, since analog days. Now, no professional when I do tests like this, but I never experienced anything like this on a Canon camera ever. And reports are saying that the Canon T7i does much better in diameter range than the 60 Mark II. And then they say the 80D does much better, and then it catches up to the 80D. But if you are in the industry for a new camera, I definitely recommend the 80D over the 60 Mark II any day, because you have full capability of video, better video quality by the way, and not only that, headphone and microphone jack is a plus. But this camera does provide a touchscreen, but not only just touchscreen, a flippy touchscreen by the way, so you can do selfie videos when you're doing vlogs or video creators, YouTube creators by that. But not only that, it does come with a 45 auto phase detection, better than the last generation, which only had one by the way. But they're all clustered together. It should have been more spread out through the whole sensor, but that's just my talking. But other than that, guys, this is the Panda Photographer from 646studios.com. Now, if you enjoy the content, please sign up or subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at 646studios.com. Instagram is the Panda Photographer. Go to my website, 646studios.com. I have tutorials on photography and videography, and you can see all my social media links right on top of the front page there. If you have any questions about this video, please leave the comments down below. I will be happy to make a second video based on the comments down below. Other than that, the Panda Photographer is going to say this once: do your research before you buy a camera. Don't buy a camera because it's the coolest, newest thing, because in my opinion, this camera is not future-proofed. Buy a camera that is going to survive at least 5 years from now and has up-to-date SD card slots, not UHS 1. Get something that at least has UHS 2. Other than that, Panda Photographer here out. The Panda Photographer here, excuse me, and I'm out of here. Take care, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next live video. Peace.